I got a nice meat package from Kevin at the Butcher Shoppe, and he usually sends me stuff to try out. Well, there's in this cooler, there's a big, nice flat. I mean, it was thick, and it was like an A9. I could see the A9 sticker on it. Wagyu beef. And I was like, man, and I was going to cook. My dad loves vegetables and like just pot roast. So that was what I was going to cook him for Father's Day. We were going to have pinto beans and mashed potatoes and corn, pot roast, vegetables, stuff like that, lima beans. And so I said, well, instead of doing a pot roast, I'm going to do my brisket like I did Easter, kind of pot roast or, style. Yeah. With the vegetables around it, the potatoes, the carrots, the onions. It's
less barbecue-y and more roasty.
Yeah, and it goes with all the stuff my dad likes.
Yeah.
And so I was going to put it on the night before, do it, low and slow.
Make a good gravy.
Yeah, make a gravy to go, the onion gravy to go with it. And I opened it up to get this brisket flat ready, and there's 2 pieces of meat there, and they're like super thin. I'm like, wait a minute. What is this? It looked like brisket. And so it turns out it was flat iron steaks. It was Wagyu flat iron steaks. And I was like, man, these are going to be awesome. But it changed my whole thing up because I wasn't going to cook flat iron steaks. So I said, well, I'm going to do them kind of the same style that I was going to see how they are.
Kind of like you did a brisket style tri-tip.
Yeah. And so I seasoned them up. I seasoned them up, hit them with some, prime beef and a little TX. That was the only 2 things I put on them. I put them on the Traeger at like 205 super smoke, super low. Because these things were, I'm talking about, they may have weighed 3.5 pounds each. They weren't. I mean, it was going to be, I knew it was a 6-7 pound flat.
They were really big.
Yeah, they were long.
Long, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for flat irons. And then
they
were on the thick as a flat iron, I mean, so I was like, well, I'm going to put them on. I was a little hesitant to put them on overnight because I didn't know what they were going to be like. And so I put them on the smoker, about midnight that night, maybe? Because I waited a long while after I opened them up at 7 o'clock. And I just seasoned them and put them back in the fridge, and I got them out, throw them on the smoker. Went and checked them. I don't know, I got up about 6 o'clock the next morning, Father's Day, and I went outside to check on these things. They'd been on about 6 hours, and they had done shrunk down, and I was like, I don't know if I can take this to my dad's or not. I thought they're going to laugh at me, So I wrapped them up. I took both of them, wrapped them up with some beef broth, a little bit of Johnny's.
Did you just put them in a pan or?
No, I wrapped them in foil. I did a little beef broth, a little Johnny's French dip sauce that comes in the little jug. Poured some of that in there, wrapped them up. Tried my best to put a probe in the side of one so I could watch it. Threw it back on the smoker. So I'm gonna finish them. I'm gonna take them up to 202 degrees, whatever. Set my little ThermoWorks dot for that. And I jumped in the truck at 6:30. and went to Kroger to get a roast. I'm back to cooking roast now. And so I just did. So I was kind of in panic mode because, they was counting on me to bring Father's Day lunch, and I didn't want to screw it up.
You were in panic mode.
And
so, you take that very seriously.
I do. I don't like to mess stuff up. Yeah. At first, I've told them they're going to have brisket. Now I've got this. I don't know what I did to this flat iron, but it's not looking good. And so I go and find me the best looking roast that Kroger had, and they only had one. It wasn't like I had a choice. It was 6:30 on Sunday, and I was trying to get lunch ready by noon. I knew I had to cook this roast. So I grabbed the roast, come home, season it, throw it in a skillet, brown it on both sides, get it over in a pan with some au jus and stuff. And you got the oven. You jumped up, turned the oven, heated it up for me. We put it on.
We put it on 425.
Yeah, then started, and then we backed it down some. And I'm cooking roast. I've got to get my vegetables done. I had to make gravy. But in the meantime, I guess it was about, 8:30, 9 o'clock. I go out there and I check those flat irons, and they're done. They're like one of them was like 208, and the other one was like 204. I'd done overshot them some. I was like, well, I really screwed this up. And I nuked them. So I brought them inside and just set them in a pan, let them hang out. And then I guess about, 11 o'clock, we're fixing to get ready to start packing up to go to my parents for lunch, for Father's Day lunch. And I said, well, I'm going to cut these up, Shell. Let's just see what these flat irons are like.
I kept telling you, I was like, they're going to be good.
And so the roast is done. I've got the roast panned up. I've got my gravy made, and we'll talk. That gravy's awesome. But so I get these flat irons out, or what I thought was brisket flat, and I go to slicing them, and it's just like the knife just butter through them, like, just smooth as it could be. And I was like, hold on. wait a minute. And so I tried a piece, and it was like, I mean, it looked like brisket flat. It just looked half size, like a half size flat. And it would melt in your, I mean, it was juicy.
I liked it better than
had
flat.
the best, like, outside bark on it. It would melt, and I said, man, what have I figured out accidentally? And so and I was like, these are unbelievable. They really were. I mean, it wasn't the pot roast brisket that I wanted to cook. It was more like a brisket, like just a Texas style brisket, but it was a Texas flat iron is what it was, cooked like a brisket.
But it had maximum surface area, because it was
the crust was all the way around it, both sides, top side, bottom side, around the edges. It did not crumble, and it slid. I mean, it. And I know you cannot do this with like go to Kroger and get a flat iron. It's because it was some of the Wagyu beef that Kevin gets down at the Butcher Shoppe. And I have no idea what those things cost because he just sent them to me to try, and I didn't know what they were. I got one. He also sent me a prime hammer of Thor, like the shank that's got the bone exposed or whatever. I got that. I got to cook too. But these flat irons, no joke. Single best flat iron I've ever cooked. The only way I've ever cooked them hot and fast, grilled, medium, or rare, medium rare, and I love them that way. This one right here, a mess up, improvised, whatever you want to call it, was probably the best flat iron I've ever cooked in my life, accidentally.
I liked it better than a brisket flat. It was good.
It was amazing. And when I took it over there, I told my parents the story and told my brother the story, and they were laughing at me, ha ha ha. Think you know what you're doing. And then I let them try that. They were like, oh my God. They was like, this is unbelievable.
It was good.
And it was so good.